The scanner raised, classroom hazard. She tapped the charging cadet's neck, dropping him instantly. Inside one of its inner rings was Lecture Hall 9, a wide room filled with tiered seats, holographic displays, and cadets from more than 20 species. For most of them, this was just another required class. The subject was threat recognition and environmental hazards. It was considered boring, the kind of lecture senior cadets joked about sleeping through. The scanners built into the walls and ceiling were supposed to detect chemical leaks, unstable gravity fields, radiation spikes, or hidden weapons. They were not meant to warn about people. That was why no one reacted at first. The instructor, a tall, gray-skinned Corin with 4 calm eyes, was explaining how false positives could occur when too many species shared a confined space. His voice was smooth and practiced. And so, cadets, you must always cross-check scanner alerts with context. Panic is more dangerous than most hazards, a soft chime interrupted him. Above the central board, a line of red text appeared. Classroom hazard detected the room filled with quiet laughter. A few cadets glanced up, amused. One of the reptilian trainees made a clicking sound that passed for a joke. Someone in the back muttered something about old software. The instructor paused, annoyed more than concerned. Ignore that. The system has been recalibrated twice this week. It will correct itself. The red text remained. Classroom hazard detected. The human cadet sat halfway down the left tier, posture relaxed but eyes focused. Her name was Mara Ellison. She was smaller than almost everyone in the room. Humans usually were. No claws, no natural armor, no fangs, no impressive muscle mass by galactic standards. Because of that, she had learned to pay attention. Her eyes moved from the warning text to the scanner's pulse indicator. It flickered, just slightly out of rhythm. She noticed the delay between detection and display, a delay most species would never see. Her fingers slowly loosened from the stylus in her hand. Across the aisle sat Rithkar, a charging species cadet from the Brack Dominion. His people were famous or infamous for forward aggression. On their homeworld, social disputes were often settled by ritual charges, short bursts of explosive movement meant to prove dominance. Rithkar was big even for his kind. Thick limbs, dense muscle, a chest like reinforced plating. He had spent the entire lecture shifting in his seat, growing more irritated by the minute. When the warning appeared, his crest flared. "Hazard," he growled, his translator rendering the sound into harsh words. "This is an insult." The instructor turned one of his eyes toward Rithkar. "Cadet, sit," classroom hazard detected. Several cadets leaned back, uneasy now. The instructor stepped forward, trying to calm the situation. "Cadet Rithkar, this is a classroom. Stand down. Security fields are active." Mara did not look at the instructor. She looked at Rithkar's shoulders. The way his weight shifted forward, the way his back legs tightened. Charging species did not attack without warning. Their bodies warned you first. Humans, hunted animals once upon a time, had learned to read those signs very well. The scanner pulsed again, threat confirmed. Rithkar roared and launched himself forward. It happened faster than most species could track. One moment he was standing. The next he was airborne, crossing the distance between tiers in a blur of muscle and force. Desks shattered as he pushed off, fragments flying. The security field activated, but too late. It was tuned for energy weapons, not sudden biological acceleration. Cadets screamed. Some froze. Others tried to scramble away, their instincts screaming louder than their training. Mara stood up. She did not run. She stepped sideways into the path of the charge instead of away from it. To outside eyes, it looked like a mistake. Rithkar was easily 4 times her mass. His momentum alone should have crushed her, but Mara moved at the last possible moment. She didn't strike with force. She didn't punch or kick. She reached out and tapped 2 fingers against the side of Rithkar's neck, just below the ridge of hardened scale. It was a small motion, almost gentle. Rithkar's body locked, his roar cut off mid-sound. His limbs went slack. His massive form collapsed forward, sliding across the floor and coming to rest inches from Mara's boots. Silence fell over the room. For a long second, no one moved. Then the medical scanner chimed. Life signs stable. The instructor stared, all 4 eyes wide. Mara stepped back, hands open, breathing steady. Her heart was racing, but her face was calm. She had done this before, not to someone this big, but the principle was the same. Security drones finally descended, hovering uncertainly over the unconscious Brack cadet. What did you do?" the instructor asked. Myra looked down at Rithkar, then up at the warning still glowing above the room. "I stopped the hazard," she said simply. Around her, the other cadets stared, some with fear, some with confusion, a few with something close to respect. None of them laughed anymore. The scanner powered down at last. The room remained very, very quiet. The silence did not break all at once. It cracked slowly, like ice under careful steps. At first, no one spoke. The security drones hovered above Rithkar's unmoving body, their lights scanning up and down his chest. The medical readout stayed calm and steady, almost peaceful, which only made the scene stranger. Mara Ellison stood where she was, a few steps back from the fallen cadet. She kept her hands visible, fingers slightly spread, the way human instructors taught during any high-stress situation. Her breathing slowed, counted, and controlled. One breath in, one breath out. The danger was over, but adrenaline still moved through her body like electricity. The instructor finally found his voice. "All cadets," he said, louder than normal, "remain seated. Security Protocol Alpha is now in effect." No one argued. Chairs scraped as some cadets sat back down automatically. Others were already frozen in place. Eyes stayed locked on the human. Two armored security officers entered the hall from opposite doors. They moved carefully, weapons lowered but ready. When they reached Rithkar, they knelt and checked the medical scan again. "He's alive," one officer confirmed. "Deep unconscious state, no visible damage." The instructor turned all four eyes to Mara. "Cadet Ellison," he said, struggling to keep his tone neutral, "explain your actions." Mara nodded once. She had expected this part. Humans always did. "He charged," she said. "The scanner warned us. I reacted." "That is an incomplete answer," the instructor replied. "You disabled a BRAC charging cadet with minimal force. That should not be possible." Mara chose her words carefully. "It's possible if you know where to touch." That caused a ripple through the room. Whispers passed between rows in dozens of languages. Some cadets leaned forward now, curiosity replacing fear. The instructor raised one hand for silence. "You will come with security for evaluation. This is not a punishment. This is a requirement." "I understand," Mara said. As she followed the officers toward the exit, she felt the weight of attention pressing against her back. She did not look around. Humans learned long ago that when many eyes watched, calm was the safest shield. Behind her, Rithkar was lifted onto a hovering medical platform. His massive form looked smaller without motion, almost vulnerable. The scanner above the room cleared its warning. No one trusted it anymore. The evaluation room was white and quiet, designed to calm nervous species. Soft light adjusted automatically to Myra's human vision. A medical officer ran scans while a behavioral analyst observed from behind a transparent panel. Mara sat still, feet flat on the floor, hands resting on her knees. "Cadet Ellison," the analyst said through a speaker, "do you understand why this situation concerns the Academy?" "Yes," Mara replied. "Explain." "The scanner detected a biological threat," she said. "It was right, Rithkar was about to hurt someone." "That is not the concern," the analyst said. "The concern is how easily you stopped him." Mara considered that. "I didn't use strength," she said. "I used timing." The medical officer finished and nodded to the panel. "Her physiology is within human norms, no enhancements, no illegal implants." The analyst leaned forward. "Then how did you know where to strike?" Mara met the glass with steady eyes. "Humans study predators, we always have, bigger animals, faster ones, we didn't survive by overpowering them." The analyst was silent for a moment. "You studied BRAC anatomy?" "Yes." "That material is optional," the analyst said. "For most species," Mara answered. "Not for humans." Later that cycle, Rithkar woke in the medical wing. His first feeling was confusion. His second was shame. BRAC culture valued strength and directness. To fall unconscious in front of peers was deeply dishonoring. To be defeated by a human, one of the smallest species at the Academy, was worse. A medical attendant noticed his eyes open and alerted staff. The instructor from Lecture Hall 9 arrived shortly after. "Cadet Rithkar," the instructor said. "Do you remember what happened?" Rithkar's crest lowered slightly. "I charged," he said. "I failed." "You violated Academy conduct," the instructor replied. "But you are not being punished. Instead, you will attend a review." Rithkar stiffened. "With whom?" The door slid open. Myra stepped inside. Rithkar's muscles tensed on instinct, but the medical bed restrained movement. He stopped himself, breathing heavily. "You," he said. Myra stopped a respectful distance away. "Yes." There was a long pause. You did not strike, Rithkar said slowly. You touched. Yes. Where? Mara raised two fingers and gestured toward her own neck, precise and calm. Here, where nerve clusters meet blood flow, on your species it causes a system reset. Rithkar stared at her. You could have killed me. I didn't, she said. That matters. That answer confused him more than the fall. The instructor watched them both. This review is not about blame, he said. It is about understanding. The scanner flagged a classroom hazard. It was correct. None of us understood why until after the fact. Rithkar looked away. I thought it was an insult. Why? Mara asked gently. Because my people are called dangerous, he said. We are expected to be restrained by others. Mara nodded. Humans were called weak. We were expected to be protected. Their eyes met. And yet, Rithkar said, you stopped me. Yes. How? Mara answered honestly. Because humans plan for the moment before violence, not the moment during it. That idea stayed with Rithkar long after she left. News of the incident spread through the academy faster than official reports. Cadets talked in mess halls and training bays. Some exaggerated, some dismissed it as luck. A few tried to copy human movements in secret, failing badly. The scanners across the station were quietly updated. New categories appeared in the system, ones that had never been needed before. Behavioral threat, tactical. Many were surprised by how old the techniques were. No advanced weapons, no special armor, just leverage, timing, and deep understanding of anatomy and psychology. Mara noticed the change before anyone said it out loud. People gave her space now, not out of fear, but caution. Conversations paused when she entered rooms. Not hostile, just aware. She continued attending classes, taking notes, asking questions. She did not brag, she did not explain unless asked. That made others more uneasy than if she had. One cycle later, during a mixed-species combat theory session, the instructor paused mid-lecture. There is a misconception, the instructor said, eyes scanning the room. Strength decides outcomes. This is false. He gestured toward a paused recording of the Lecture Hall 9 incident. This, he continued, is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Many eyes turned to Mara. She kept writing. Somewhere deep in the Academy's data core, a simple conclusion was forming, line by line, report by report. Humans were not dangerous because they were aggressive. They were dangerous because they were careful. And the Academy was only beginning to understand what that meant. The Academy changed quietly after that. There was no announcement sent to all cadets, no speech about humans or new rules, but small things shifted, and those small things added up fast. Instructors began to pause when human cadets raised their hands. Training simulations started including unexpected variables that looked a lot like human tactics. Even the way security officers stood near Mara Ellison was different now. Not closer, just more aware. Mara noticed it all, but she did not comment. She focused on her routine, morning physical conditioning, midday theory classes, evening simulator work. Humans survived by habits, and she was not about to break hers. One cycle after the incident, she was summoned again. This time, it was not to a medical room or disciplinary office. It was to the strategy wing. The room was larger than most classrooms, with a circular table and projection fields hovering above it. Several instructors were already present, along with species representatives from different divisions. At the far end stood Rithkar. He was fully recovered. When he saw Mara enter, his posture stiffened. Then slowly he lowered his crest in a formal Brack gesture of acknowledgement. Respect, not submission. Mara returned a small nod. Cadet Ellison, the senior strategist said, thank you for attending. You are here because your actions revealed a blind spot in our training. Mara remained standing. I didn't plan to reveal anything. That, the strategist replied, is part of the problem. A hologram activated above the table. It showed data from the classroom incident, slowed and analyzed from multiple angles. Red lines traced Rithkar's momentum. Blue markers showed Mara's movement. The scanner flagged a hazard, the strategist continued. Not because of violence, but because of probability. The system calculated that someone would be seriously injured within seconds. Rithkar shifted uncomfortably. What stopped the outcome, the strategist said, was not force, it was interruption. Mara watched the hologram, her face calm. We have reviewed human combat doctrine, another instructor added, or what little of it was shared. Much of it is not labeled as combat at all. It's labeled survival, Mara said. Several instructors exchanged looks. Rithkar finally spoke. Why did you not step away? Mara turned to him. Because stepping away would not stop you. That answer sat heavily in the room. Humans, Mara continued, learn early that running only delays danger. Sometimes you have to move toward it at the right angle at the right time. The strategist folded his hands. That mindset is rare among non-predatory species. We weren't predators, Mara replied. We were prey, that's why we think this way. The room grew quiet. That was when the Academy truly began to understand. Over the next cycles, human cadets were invited, not ordered, invited to demonstrate basic techniques, not strikes or throws, but concepts, balance, distance. Reaction windows, how bodies, regardless of species, followed rules under stress. Many cadets were shocked by how simple it all looked, and how impossible it was to copy without years of instinct. One instructor tried a human wrist control technique on a simulation drone and failed 3 times before Mara adjusted his elbow by a few degrees. The 4th attempt worked. It's not strength, she reminded him. It's alignment. Rithkar watched these sessions closely. He did not participate at first. Pride still burned in his chest, but curiosity burned stronger. One day, after a long silence, he approached Mara in the training hall. Show me, he said. Mara studied him for a moment. You need to promise something first. What? That you won't charge. Rithkar gave a low, embarrassed sound. I promise. They worked slowly. Mara never touched his neck again. Instead, she taught him how humans read intention, shoulder tension, breath speed, eye focus, how aggression announced itself before motion. Rithkar struggled. This feels like weakness, he admitted. It feels like patience, Mara corrected. They look similar from the outside. As training expanded, the Academy's data systems kept updating their models. Human reaction times, human stress tolerance. Human decision-making under pressure. The results made some administrators uncomfortable. Humans scored lower in raw strength and durability. But in mixed-threat scenarios, survival rates rose sharply when a human was present, not because they fought. Because they noticed things first. The scanner algorithms were rewritten. New warning categories were added based on behavior patterns instead of species profiles. One label caused quiet debate among the staff. Classroom hazard, human tactical presence. It did not mean humans were dangerous by default. It meant situations involving humans changed outcomes in unpredictable ways. Mara learned about the label by accident while reviewing a simulation log. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she closed the file and went to her next class. The real test came during a joint exercise, a simulated station breach, multiple species, confined space, limited visibility, the kind of scenario where panic killed more cadets than enemies ever could. Mara was placed in a mixed squad with Rithkar included. When the alarm sounded, several cadets froze. Others rushed forward without thinking. Mara did neither. She raised one hand. Stop, she said, not loudly but clearly. Rithkar hesitated, then obeyed. What do you see? She asked the squad. Confused answers followed. Smoke, noise, red lights. Mara listened, then pointed. That pattern is wrong. The threat isn't ahead, it's above. Seconds later, the simulation triggered an ambush from the ceiling. The squad survived. After the exercise, the instructor watched the replay in silence. She didn't take command, he said quietly. She gave focus. That observation was added to the report. By the end of the cycle, one truth had become impossible to ignore. Humans did not dominate rooms. They shaped them. Rithkar understood that now. He found himself watching human cadets more closely, noticing how they stood near walls, how their eyes kept moving, how they rarely relaxed fully. One evening, he asked Mara a question that had been bothering him. Are you afraid all the time? Mara thought about it. No, she said, just ready. He considered that answer carefully. The galaxy had long believed that fear made species weak. Humans proved that fear, understood and controlled, could become awareness. And awareness could stop a charge before it began. The Academy was no longer just teaching humans. It was adapting to them, and that adaptation had only just begun. The final change came without alarms. That alone made it dangerous. The Interstellar Defense Academy had learned to recognize loud threats. Breaches, charges, weapons fire, but this was quiet, clean, hidden behind routine. Mara Ellison noticed it during a systems class. The room temperature shifted by a fraction of a degree. Not enough to trigger comfort alerts, enough to change how skin felt. Her eyes lifted from her screen. Across the room, Rithkar paused mid-note. His crest twitched, uncertain. The scanner above the board stayed calm. No warning, that was wrong. Myra did not move yet. She waited. Humans learned to confirm patterns before acting. She watched the instructor's voice remain steady while his pupil dilation changed. Stress, not fear, focused attention on something unseen. Then the lights dimmed slightly, not a failure, a controlled reduction. Mara stood. Several cadets looked at her, surprised. She raised one finger, a human signal for silence. Rithkar noticed and echoed the gesture with his massive hand. The instructor stopped speaking. "What is it?" he asked quietly. "We're being tested," Mara said, "or observed." That was when the doors sealed. Still no alarms. A hologram flickered to life at the front of the room. The symbol was unfamiliar, not academy, not military, neutral. A voice followed, calm, measured. "This is an external audit," it said. "Remain where you are." Panic rippled through the room. External audits did not seal classrooms. Rithkar shifted closer to Mara without thinking. "Stay back," she whispered. "Watch." The scanner pulsed once. Classroom hazard unknown. Low confidence meant the system could not predict outcomes. That only happened with humans. The hologram changed, showing data feeds from across the station. Corridors sealed. Security teams rerouted. Training halted. "This academy," the voice continued, "has exceeded projected adaptation thresholds. Human influence has altered standard combat doctrine. We are here to assess risk." "Risk to whom?" the instructor demanded. There was a pause. "To everyone else." That answer landed hard. Myra stepped forward slightly. "You think humans are a problem?" "We think humans are variables," the voice replied. "Variables destabilize controlled systems." Myra nodded slowly. "Yes, they do." Rithkar looked between her and the hologram. "You will remove her?" he asked, anger rising. "We will isolate," the voice corrected. "Study, limit spread." Mara felt something cold settle in her chest. This was not about punishment, it was about fear. She raised her hands, palms open. "If you isolate humans, the academy will be weaker." "That is an unproven claim." "No," Mara said. "It's already proven, you're just late reading the data." The hologram flickered again. "Confidence detected. Explain." Mara took a breath. "Humans don't replace strength," she said. "We replace blind spots. You built systems assuming threats look a certain way. We see the ones that don't." The scanner chimed softly. Confidence level, rising. The voice hesitated. Rithkar stepped forward now, standing beside Mara. "I was the threat," he said. "The scanner warned you. A human stopped me without harm. If you remove them, you remove restraint." Others spoke up, different species, different voices. "She noticed before the alarms. She saved our squad. She didn't command us, she focused us." The room shifted. This was not chaos. This was alignment. The hologram dimmed slightly, processing. "Your presence changes outcomes," the voice said to Mara. "Yes," she agreed. "So does fear. You just choose which one you trust." Silence followed. Then slowly the doors unlocked. The hologram faded. The scanner cleared. The external audit never returned. Days later, policy updates were issued. Humans were reclassified, not as hazards, not as weapons, but as force multipliers. Human training methods were added to core curriculum. Not techniques, but principles, awareness, timing, choice. Mara was asked to help design the module. She accepted. Rithkar attended every session. One evening, as the station rotated into artificial night, he stood with Mara by the viewport, watching stars slide past. "You could have dominated us," he said. "You chose not to," Mara shrugged. "Domination breaks things, and control limits options," she replied. "We prefer possibilities." He considered that. "You are dangerous," he said at last. Mara smiled faintly. "Only if you charge." Rithkar made a deep sound that might have been laughter. Across the academy, scanners adjusted their baseline models one final time. Human presence no longer reduced confidence. It increased it, because the galaxy learned something simple and far too late to ignore. If a human is calm, it's not because nothing is wrong. It's because they already see it coming.